What runner wouldn't want to run longer without getting tired? In this video, I want to give you a step-by-step guide to becoming more resistant, whether you're a beginner or a more advanced runner. Stick around for this video because it's relevant to you. How to be more resistant? This is the burning question I receive daily. We need to understand endurance, how to maintain a pace for a longer period. This is what every runner wishes for, and I'm going to give you the step-by-step guide to achieve it. Stick around for this video because I'm going to explain things that are interesting. The first key is build an aerobic base. What does an aerobic base mean? It means that low-intensity training will give consistency to your fitness level. What happens is, many people focus on going out for a run. They start running too fast, can't sustain it for long, get discouraged, and don't do it consistently. It's better that if you're starting out in running, you go out more often, and even if it's just walking and running at first, the famous run-walk method, try walking and running. Aim for consistency over the days. Also, aim to accumulate exercise time. Don't just focus on running because if you do, it's unsustainable in the long run. So with that said, apply the run-walk method at the beginning, walk and run. Start with less running time and gradually increase the time you spend running until you can run for 20 minutes straight, 30 minutes straight, 40 minutes straight. And then you'll have a fairly decent aerobic base to be able to run almost daily for 30 or 40 minutes straight. Keep in mind that this run-walk method is a very smart way to gradually strengthen your muscles, get your tendons accustomed to the impact of running, and gradually improve your fitness level. One of the keys to this first point is consistency. Sometimes we focus on pace, on wanting to go out for 30 or 40 minutes and give it our all, and then we're exhausted and can't continue running. I tell you to prioritize consistency. To do this run-walk method, prioritize going out 3 to 4 times a week. Also, prioritize, above all, enduring a long time doing this walk-run. If you have to walk more at the beginning, it's okay. Gradually increase the running time. But the priority of this key, point number 1, is consistency. Never forget it. Forget about pace. Pace doesn't matter at the beginning. The second key would be strength training. It's extremely important to train strength. On one hand, it will help us avoid injuries, and on the other hand, it will give us greater efficiency in running. We'll have better posture while running and, therefore, greater stability, which will translate into fewer discomforts and fewer injuries. Consider that when we run, we weaken the muscular system. If we compensate for this by going to the gym and working on strength, we'll reduce the strain on our passive structures, such as tendons and joints. That's why it's extremely important to continue your strength training week after week while gradually adapting to running, doing run walks, running for longer periods, and also doing strength training. This way, you'll build a very solid fitness level and create a foundation from which you can start with confidence. As for what strength training you can do, I would say look for adherence. Find strength training that you enjoy, because if you're going to do a strength routine that someone else has recommended and you don't enjoy it, you won't stick to it, you won't train properly. And therefore, the worst strength training is the one that isn't done. Therefore, I recommend that if you're new to strength training, do exercises on machines. It's a way to do guided exercises, and it's very unlikely that you'll get injured unless you're being reckless by lifting too much weight. Once you have a base of training in the gym, we could start thinking about incorporating multi-joint exercises such as squats, deadlifts, bench presses, and military presses. These are exercises that involve different muscle groups, and it's also very important to work on stabilizing muscles, especially in squats. It's a basic exercise for a runner because it mainly works on those stabilizing muscles that are important in running. The key to strength training is that you ultimately feel comfortable, that you enjoy strength training. Almost all runners go to the gym out of obligation. They don't enjoy it. The key is to find a strength training routine that keeps you engaged, that you truly enjoy doing strength training, because that's what will allow you to do it week after week, and that's the most important thing about strength training. If that means starting with body AM classes at first, although it's not the most efficient way to do this type of strength training if our goal is to gain endurance and become long-distance runners. Body AM training is not the most efficient because its strength and endurance adaptations interact with running, and it's been scientifically proven that it's not the most efficient. However, I tell you that if it's the only training you enjoy, then do it. If CrossFit is what you enjoy, do it. It's not the most suitable strength training for long-distance runners, but it's better than doing nothing. Let's move on to the third key, changing training surfaces. On one hand, this will make our training much more fun, much less monotonous. We'll be changing training surfaces. One day we'll train somewhere and another day we'll run somewhere else. For example, if you're going to do intervals on the track one day, you're varying. If one day you're going for a run on asphalt, you're varying. If one day you're going for a trail run, you're varying. If one day you go to a park with compact earth to do your continuous run, that's also different. If another day you go to the gym and use the treadmill, that's also different. Then, on the other hand, there's also the issue that your muscles work differently on each surface. For example, to help you understand, when you run on asphalt, it's much faster. The sensation of speed is much greater. You can run faster, but your muscles, tendons, and joints suffer more. They are punished much more on asphalt. So when you then go to train, for example, on compact earth, a typical park, it's harder to run. Your pace worsens compared to asphalt. But it's true that your tendons and joints suffer less. Therefore, we must highlight here that by varying surfaces, our muscles will change their work, and it's a way to reduce the load on the muscles. Not to mention doing a run on the treadmill at the gym where the impact is lower, it's also much more monotonous. Let's move on to the fourth key, running technique. This key is a bit tricky, so I'm not going to recommend it for new runners, but I want to make a point about it. The typical advice is for you to work on your running technique. My opinion about running technique is that it's more important to train strength. Most of us have very little time available. If we have to train running technique, do strength training, go out running, and all these things that I mentioned in this video, in the end, we don't have that much time. The amateur athlete doesn't have that much time. So the priority is strength training because no matter how much you work on running technique and bring your heels to your glutes, if you don't have strength in your hamstrings, you won't be able to do it. If you want to lift your knees, if you don't have strength in your psoas, then you won't lift your knees. And I could go on giving you an example of each part involved in running technique. For example, if you want to land on the midfoot, if you don't have strength in plantar flexion and dorsiflexion in your foot, you won't be able to achieve it, and you'll end up heel striking because this is a weakness in the foot. Therefore, training strength, in the end, this will translate into better running. So, no matter how much you work on running technique, if you don't train strength, it's pointless. That said, if you have time, then work on your running technique, but I believe that the priority is to do 2 strength sessions a week. So, with that said, it's not that I don't recommend working on running technique. I'm simply telling you that it's much more important to train strength than to work on running technique. You can also use the easy runs, these continuous, gentle runs, to pay attention to your running form. Try to maintain good posture. All these tips discussed in running technique. Lean your trunk forward, have a good arm swing, place your foot properly. You can use these easy, gentle runs to try to maintain good running technique. Combine this with doing strength sessions at the gym, and gradually you'll improve your running technique. And the fifth and final key would be invisible training. For example, nighttime rest. Really, if you rest well, you'll perform much better because you'll recover from all your workouts perfectly and you'll be ready for the next session. But it's also very important to stay hydrated. Otherwise, no matter how strong you are, if you don't hydrate well, your body will never adapt to it. Nutrition is also important. The healthier we eat, the better. Also, if we have a good body mass index, meaning we're quite lean, we'll run better. We can also go to the physiotherapist, get some relaxation massages. All these care will help us recover better from each session and then perform better in the next session. And nothing, folks, if you have any doubts, leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I respond to absolutely all comments. Before we go, I want to ask you please, if you like these videos, share them with all your contacts, and please also leave us a like to improve the algorithm so that more people can find this content. Remember to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell. Thank you in advance for your generosity, and see you next time.